Good afternoon and welcome back to the return of Steve Wright and of course Ben Shatliff on Sunday. Thank you for joining us on this rather miserable Sunday of the first bank holiday weekend in May. Hope everybody is well. Now, coming up over the next few minutes, we'll have an update on all the latest news which is affecting in Ukraine and, of course, as well as the UK and around the world. Steve is back on the programme. He's one of the candidates in the local elections taking place in England and Wales this coming Thursday. We're discussing all that. I'll also be explaining about what I'm going to do on Thursday evening and throughout Friday to keep up to date with all of these results. So after having a few weeks off, there'll be a bit more stuff going on over the coming week or so, and of course next weekend with the coronation. Before all that though, let's just have a look at some of the top stories which are making the news as it stands at the moment. And these are the key points which have been going on in Ukraine. There has been a state of emergency in a Russian village after shelling by, they're saying, by Ukrainian nationalists. Bakhmut Road of Life is in Kiev's control. Russian troops are likely being placed in hole in ground as punishment. Ukrainian officials hint at successful strike in Crimea. That was in the oil refinery deal that happened yesterday. Atrocity shows Russian lies when it says it does not target civilians. And of course, many atrocities over the last 14 months. And there has been live reporting from Sky News about what exactly is going on. Also, Pope Francis has urged Hungarians to open their doors to others who plead for an end to Russia's war in Ukraine as he wrapped up his weekend visit to the country. And the Pontiff expressed appreciation to Hungary for recently welcoming Ukrainian refugees as he spoke to crowds on the banks of the Danube. Which was quite nice, actually. Here in the United Kingdom, one man has died and 7 others have been hurt after reports of stabbings in Cornwall. And a man in his 30s has died after seven other people have been injured. And that happened at Victoria Square in Bodmin at 3:15 a.m. this morning. Also, tributes have been paid to former Coronation Street actress and also Lost in the Summer Wine actress Barbara Young, who has died at the age of 92. And also, let's just look at some of the other stories just very, very briefly, which is coming in as well. The first international shipment of humanitarian aid has arrived in Port Sudan following the outbreak of conflict in the country. The International Committee of the Red Cross has said 8 tons of cargo contained surgical material for Sudanese hospitals and volunteers from the Sudan Red Crescent Society, including anaesthetics, dressings, and surgeries. Obviously, thoughts, as always, with the people of Ukraine, thoughts with the people of Sudan as well. Last Saturday, when I was at the Manchester stands from Ukraine, rather not yesterday, but the Saturday before, there was a protest going on in regards to what is going on in Sudan, and I was speaking to some of the organisers, and I said, well, whichever way you look at this, I said we've all got the same enemy with Vladimir Putin. Let's hope that peace, stability, and freedom comes back to Ukraine very, very soon, so that this never ever happens again. Steve,
hello.
The last time you were with us was on the night that Boris Johnson announced he was stepping down, resigning. Since then, sadly, we've also had the passing of the Queen, Her Majesty, and obviously the coronation of Charles III is next Saturday. And we've also had 2 other prime ministers as well.
Yeah, we did a plan for a special going, and then it got a little bit hectic that they were.
Yeah, exactly. The Queen had 15 prime ministers within the space of 70 years while she was on the throne. And I know for a fact now I think it's either my 11th or 12th within not as long as 70 years, in case everybody's thinking that, but yeah, I think it's my 11th. somebody did some maths on one of the news programmes last year, and they were saying about the fact that if it continues with the rate it was going at that stage, then King Charles would probably have beat the Queen's record in about 2 years or something like that. But the country needs stability as well. Whatever politics or whatever, country needs stability with whoever it is to be there. Rather than keep.
I was going to say, I think parties need the stability as well. Especially the Conservative Party will need to completely rally around behind Sunak and hope that the country feels better about him because it isn't too far to a general election, and to change Prime Minister again would be suicidal for all their MPs that like the life of the MP.
Have the boundary changes that have been brought in, are they actually now officially gone through? Is it
still as they were?
So really, when you think about it, obviously Steve's here because, of course, as well as being a welcome guest on the programme anyway, but the local elections taking place on Thursday. Just speaking nationally, just very, very briefly, when you think about it, there's certain tricks that these senior government ministers could think about. So say, when you have a majority of 80, like in 2019, you've got boundary changes that could make it more winnable or whatever for the next one, you act on them quick, don't you?
They do act on them quickly. There's only certain places you can keep boundary changes. You've done it for years on end anyway, so.
Exactly. But and the fixed term Parliament Act, that's still there, is it? Or did that?
No. That got abolished immediately when there wasn't two parties, so one Prime Minister could call an election. They will probably go absolutely full term, or I think the wording is that they may do something Novemberish,
right? So next year or
the year after, because again I'm just taking traditional and how pollsters look at things and that sort of thing, is that generally speaking, on a nice sunny day, a lot more Labour supporters will come out and Labour have a good day. On a rainy, horrible day, it is usually Conservatives that gain a slight advantage. And therefore, election and you're the Conservative Prime Minister, you want to try and do something like November and December when it's slightly horrible weather.
Well, that's what happened back with the Christmas election of 2019. But I remember they were talking, was it 1923, when it was like a Christmas election on November, December one. They said Labour won that then, but obviously none of us are around. Well, we're around at that specific stage. But Steve, obviously, great to have you back on the programme and to obviously to discuss. Now, obviously, Thursday is a big day because it's local elections.
Local elections again, yeah.
It's not, I suppose, well, any election is always exciting, especially any political anorak, or if you're standing or follow politics, any election is always exciting anyway. Maybe not as exciting as the big all-out elections we were last year, but there's definitely some big results to look out for. Certainly here in Hollywood, Pilkington Park as well, just literally across the road, and possibly also maybe looking out to see what happens in Radcliffe. Not saying there'll be a change, but see what majorities are, etc.
Yeah, we could individually go through the wards, but sort of based on what happened last year with the all-outs and everything else, and how polling was done and how people voted. And we'll first of all say, generally speaking, the local council haven't done anything horrendously stupid. Therefore, the local thought from people isn't of complete anger at what the Labour-controlled council has done. So there won't be that many big shifts, but there are results to have a look at. And again, going back to the results of last year, it would be there'll be the thing that you always try and look for is some sort of change of power at the town hall. I would hasten to say that guaranteed there won't be any change of power. It will still be a Labour-controlled council. There's not enough Labour candidates up for re-election this time that haven't got a very large or haven't got a very small majority and could lose the seat, but we can quickly go through the ones that are of interest. So, of course, Holyrood here is of interest. Again, that's where I'm standing. It was all three lived in councillors. I was one of them last year in the All Outs. Labour came first and second, and Stephen, my colleague, came third. I came fourth, which is very, very close, and will probably be very, very close again this year. Ben's already mentioned Pilkington Park, which traditionally for a long time, but they have had Labour councillors there, but traditionally it's been very conservative. Again, I would say the Conservatives aren't that popular nationally, so that might affect the local issue. But last time in the overalls, Conservatives came first and third, and they came second. So again, there was a mix-up of the votes there, and obviously Labour are very, very close. And as always, the candidate at this time is the third most popular candidate, even though he was or had been the leader of the Conservative Party. Again, Ben mentioned in Radcliffe last time, 8 out of the 9 council seats were won by Radcliffe first, and probably surmise it will be the same. I think it's Radcliffe, unless that might be a little close between Labour and Radcliffe first, but I don't think that much. And the other ward, which was a Conservative, has a Conservative councillor. Again, it was Radcliffe first and second, and the 2 Conservative councillors were third and fourth. Equal third and fourth. They had to draw lots to who came third. But again, it's the weakest candidate, and that was the Conservatives, and I'm sure Radcliffe first are trying to win it this time. We've also got Elton Ward, where it's always been one that has been either Labour. I'm trying to remember a time when it was all one party that was in charge there. I'm sure there was a time, but again, I think it was last time it was first was Labour, second was Conservative, and third was Labour. That is, technically speaking, the only possible dodgy seat for Labour this time, but it is very, very close. Another one to look at is Tottington. Traditionally, it has been very much so a Conservative ward, really, really big Conservative ward. We wouldn't even be mentioning, apart from last time, the Independent, who was a Conservative, very well liked in the area, Yvonne Wright, won as the most popular candidate. And again, this time, she's running another independent candidate, and she's backing that independent candidate. So this might split the traditional Conservative vote, because a lot of those people in that ward really do like Yvonne. Therefore, it could be a 3-way battle between Yvonne's independent lady, the Conservatives, and Labour, because Labour aren't that far behind, but split the vote this time, that could happen. We can't really believe it, but and it was actually not that bad last time. It was fairly close. North Manor, which is traditionally always Conservative, Labour, we have been told on the Great Line, are quite hopeful of taking it this time. They've put a lot of effort into it, and we think they're going to win it. Or I would say think they're winning. would say they had like hope of it as well. And all the others will probably stay as they were before. I think Ramsbottom will stay Labour, and all the others, which are Labour, will stay Labour, Conservative stay Conservative.
So really, and obviously for the analysis there, Steve, so really looking at that, what Steve said there, and I've got some of these results in front of me as well now. If you think of it, if what you're thinking there goes like that, if anyone's going to lose anything, it's the Conservatives on Thursday night. Just bearing in mind there, North Manor Ward was created in 2004 when it was the last, we had all out elections here in Bury last year. That's the third, and 2004 was the last time we had all out elections. That's when I stood myself for the very first time. North Manor was created as part of all the boundary change, so it was actually created as a Conservative ward. And I would say that is one of the top 10 so-called safe Conservative council seats in the United Kingdom. And if Labour think if that goes to Labour, then that would definitely be a bad night for Rishi Sunak. Well, surmising if there was a general election. But I do actually think, and I'm going to give an official analysis. Well, I'll give a prediction on Thursday night, but I don't think the prediction is going to be that much of a secret as what it normally would be, because I'm
Give a prediction on Friday night.
well, yeah, for the
You're right.
Well, every when every seat is up for every seat is up for grabs, obviously gets even more exciting kind of thing. Can go anywhere, but I don't think it's. I do actually think that Coventry Park will go Labour on. Well, at least that the seat will go Labour. I know that Nick Jones, the former Conservative leader, if he is watching, will not be pleased with that prediction there. But I've also seen some of the other stuff that's going out from one of the other candidates in that ward as well. And I know that anti-Semitism has been mentioned as well. I'm not trying to accuse anybody or anything like that, but I know there's been all kinds of different things which has been mentioned. And I know that Labour do have a very, very strong candidate who is actually central in Park. North Manor will be interesting if that's the case. That is definitely one ward to watch as well as here in Holyrood. I wasn't trying to give any persuasion, by the way, or tarnish anything in regards to Covington Park. Instead, I was just mentioning something that's been mentioned by one of the candidates on social media, etc. So I'm not trying to accuse anybody of anything or anything like that in case anybody does. So, but yeah, so no, it will be. It's definitely going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. I was going to just give the sort of the thing to. I've gone through each ward that I think there may be changes or might be changes or something like that, and I have said that there is not enough Labour councillors that it's close enough for them to lose for Labour to lose control of the council. But as far as a shift in power, there is a possibility that Radcliffe First could become the second biggest party in the Conservatives. That is a good possibility. The three, and if we believe what Labour are saying, we'll say 4 seats that are very close for the Conservatives. They could lose 4 councillors. Radcliffe First could gain 1, which would make them the second biggest party.
And if you think about how Bury, the history has either been either Labour or Conservative, it's been Conservative many, many times as well. And if the Conservatives are there, they then become the second largest party rather than the third largest party behind Radcliffe First, then that just shows how things could potentially go. Also, tomorrow I'm going to be doing an interview with an independent candidate who is standing in Bessie's ward. He got about 100 votes, I believe, last time. Just bring this specific part up. Yeah, Martin West, he got 372 votes actually last time in the last elections. Those results for Elton, when you look at that from 2022 and all that elections, are actually, they are quite close when you think about them. So it will be an interesting to watch. And what I will do on Thursday, well, Thursday on Friday, when we actually start going through the full process of everything that's going on, I'll look at the wars and try to compare as to what could potentially happen and see. I won't be able to work out swings, but certainly look at how close things could potentially be. But going completely obviously to local, obviously here in Holland, Steve, you're obviously wanting to hold on to the seat and win back to get on there yourself.
Yeah.
What would be your priorities, provided everything goes according to
priorities in the ward? You just reminded me there of I'm on a WhatsApp group for Sinister Village, which is one of the areas in there, and someone said, I've just had Labour around knocking on my door. He asked me if there's any issues in the area, and then put a couple of laughing emojis after that, like, why don't we know? So yeah, there is plenty of stuff to go. So the speeding in Sinister Village is one of them. The big thing for them at the moment is, and I know it doesn't seem that way, but the new roundabout that, or the new off road that's being built on Sinister Junction. The initial plans show that a lot of when they're building it, they're going to build a new slip road to go to where the works are happening. But prior to that, to build the slip road, all the vehicular access, all the lorries and everything is going through Sinister Village and then down Egypt Lane, if anybody knows Egypt Lane. I don't think it can sustain it, and we want that to keep as a minimum. And I still haven't had an answer back from this, but this is a thing that will be pressed. What route are they actually thinking of taking? Because from the motorway they could do very old road, but from the motorway they could do very new road and then do Hayward Road. And a lot of the roads in Prestwich, as everybody knows, have got sand underneath them, and the more heavy goods traffic mucks that up. The big thing for Prestwich, as always, is the regeneration. News are moving forward that soon after elections in summer, they'll come with what will possibly be their final draft plan. I'm helping a group of local people. They're all architects, township designers, and town planners, and various other things connected with that sort of thing. They all live in Prestwich. They have nothing to do with the council. They have nothing to do with the news, but they are trying to put together, or they're trying to come designated as a local, as a group, and draw up a local plan for Prestwich. At the moment, very, very worried that, well, I'm more worried than them because I know how the council work. I'm concerned that the vote on the designation by the cabinet is directly after elections. That always usually means bad news.
Right.
But it would be helpful for them with their knowledge and expertise, and the fact that they are local people as well, and want as much, they're even more going to local people to find out what they want for the village and everything else. That that group becomes designated, and the whole area could have, our local plan, which is something that's very consistent for a long, long time.
Is there a plan at some stage, and I'm going to ask this as a personal direct question, because obviously outside there is a pavement, and I do a lot of walking, as most people know, because I don't drive and I quite enjoy doing several thousand steps each day in the evenings. But do you know if there are any plans to try and redo all the pavements around know that might sound a very big mammoth
So it's
task.
an easy answer. No,
No, right.
no plans to do anything like that, even though I know how annoying it is up and down those pavements and everything else to sort out. You know, there's no plans to, you know, there's some money that we borrowed to fix roads and get them redone. And we've still got pothole roads everywhere, haven't we? And things like that. And pavements are even less priority for the council. But the good news is that we're in election time, aren't we? So everybody's just seen a lot of new roads being relaid and everything, in lots of places and things like that.
Near the church where I go to, I've noticed about there's been roads that have been done recently, and the pavements. Some of the pavements have been done, but I would say could be improved the way they've been patched up in certain lines, like at the ends and stuff. Not a complete satisfaction. I would personally say that's not in the ward, by the way, where I live. So, but we can all give our opinions. But I've also noticed as you go towards Prestwich and obviously Tesco and Highfield Road, there seems to be work that's been going on there as well recently. But I actually said to somebody the other week at church, I said, well, I said, elections are coming up, so you do see things which are going on. But would it be something, I'm going to obviously put this to you, Steve, but I'll put this to anybody else who does watch or choosing for a note or whatever, but I know the potholes is a massive issue. It's not just been like that recently, it's been going on for years, but it seems to be more often. Would it not save the council, and not just Berry Council, councils up and down the country, anywhere, would it not save them money if you put a big, massive investment of money, which would cost a fortune, it would break the budgets of various different things, to literally, because you mentioned there about being sand into the roads and various different stuff, would it not be more productive for you to actually redo those from scratch, so that way, hopefully that issue is sorted out? And it could be less costly, it could be more cost effective for the future. I'm keep
this is why there is a bit of a programme of roads being done at the moment, but they didn't go as far as our government group wanted to do. So you basically borrow money to redo your roads, and the interest payments on the money is offset against the non-payouts of toll claims and things like that. So that's the very quick synopsis of how it all works. So you'll pay out less because all your roads are fixed, and that money that you would normally pay out to people who've had damage to the vehicles and various other things is used to pay off the big loan for doing the roads. I think at the time it was something like £10 million they borrowed. We had put in the budget, I think the budget about 3 or 4 years ago, we had put double that to try and make sure the majority of the roads were all done and practically no pothole claims at all.
Right.
So it was a bit of a halfway house. I'm going to say that probably 4 years into that plan, in a lot of places.
And of course,
and I know there are pothole claims because,
and of course, with the dramatic change of the weather, both hot and cold as well, that's affected everything more over recent years, and I suppose could affect things going forward because of all the various extreme weathers. I mean, we're all mentioning about like sore throats and coughs and colds. That's why my voice sounds a bit muffled today. But we've had weather where it's been hot or mild, even milder than what it should be for this time of the year, early on in the year, I should say. And then it's going to go very, very cold again. You're still wearing a scarf at the end of April, which is not good in itself, but I suppose it's the way that things.
Yeah, so these extreme weather don't help the roads and various other places and things like that.
Just a couple of other things just to talk about as well. I'm going to mention about transport. Now, I use the Metro lane in Camden, know that there's a new scheme which has been brought in by the Mayor Andy Burnham where you can pay £2 to actually get on a bus for the journey. But if someone's got to get 2 buses,
Yeah.
and that's £4 to get to work, so that's £8 a day, where it can probably work out more than what you would pay if you've got a weekly pass, that kind of thing. And plus, they've not actually brought that in for the trams either, which would be. Then again, if that was the case for me at the moment, and we were doing it per the tram journey, per tram, then that could be costing me £6 just to get into the office each day, which would not be the right way. But do you think is there anything more that's being planned, or I know that you're always looking at ways to try and do more things for Metrolink and more things for the buses? I know there's the integration that's going to be going
Yeah.
on.
Oh, we hope, hopefully we can get some sort of integrated transport system. We hope we can implement something like that. In the last, probably know if there's anything being planned or anything done as well. You know, a non-councillor then you don't get fed that sort of information at all on what's happening. It's just what is in the news and like I say, just what they do new to vote schemes and things like that.
Yeah. Have you ever been on any of these transport committees at all when you've been on the council?
It's very, very easy. No.
Right.
Well,
Right.
the transport committee I was on was the licensing one.
Right.
That's not buses and
Yeah.
trams and that sort of thing. That's taxi drivers and
Right.
licenses and all the lot, which is very interesting.
Yeah, because there was an issue with taxi, wasn't there, back a few years ago, but is that still ongoing, or has it kind of resolved itself?
Again, I don't know. You can ask me about there's I will say there is always issues with taxi drivers, you know, of some sort. The last one was to do with the you know the charges. That we're still waiting for the new plan on, you know, for Greater Manchester. That was the last thing that we were all upset about. In addition to that, there was they wanted to, I say the wrong word here, universalise, but you know they wanted all taxis across Manchester to have a universal standard,
Right.
whereas all the individual laws around the taxis for each borough was set by the license that individual licensing authority, and they wanted to make it a general rule all the way across. So that was a big piece of work trying to get every local authority to agree on something. Then when it was to do with size of stickers on vehicles and things like that, then again, you know, the taxi drivers got upset about what was going on and what was not going on and things like that. You know, at the end of the day, you're arguing over something that size that was going to be that size or that ever. You know, somebody getting excited about something and you're saying, well, that's not much different to what we've got at the moment. Why getting upset about it? Probably just getting upset about something to get upset about it. But that were the last two issues. Licensing.
Because I know some of the taxi firms, some of like the local taxi firms in like the north of Manchester, have all kind of like merged together under one umbrella now. Like it was like Blue Line, wasn't it? Then it was like Blue Line, White Line, or Elton now. But then they merged with some of the others. I know that because when I've been there, going to events at the Ukraine Centre, and I've been ordering a taxi back, and they said, yeah, how it's like all as one kind of thing. But another thing as well, which I don't think it affects us here. So it doesn't affect us in Prestwich and Whitefield as much. It might be maybe in Derry Town Centre. It certainly affects people in Manchester City Centre. Is these bikers. But when I say bikers, I don't mean the people that are actually on motorcycles or anything like that. I'm talking about the ones who are like delivering stuff on their bikes going around the city centre. You try and duck out of the way, but you still head towards you.
Yeah.
We don't experience
I
as
don't
much
experience
here.
I really don't do the town centre that much either. So yeah.
But it is something that any councillors in Manchester that could be watching or whatever, it's something that does need looking at, because when I was younger, I was always told you should not ride on the pavement. But people, I find myself, even when I go for a work at lunchtime and I work in a traffic centre, like the wall, actually, they are doing building work there as well. But somebody last week said to me, thank you for letting them ride past me on the pavement. And I'm thinking, you shouldn't be on the pavement anyway. So I actually got, I remember years ago, I got in trouble off the police, and it's not a crime confession or anything like that, because I was riding on the wrong side of the road. I was only about, what was I, about 13 or 14 at the time. And I said, oh no, I said, don't worry. I said, I'm not riding on the wrong side of the road. I said, I'm just going back onto the curb to get on the pavement. And the police officer said to me, so he said, you shouldn't be on the pavement. He said, you should be on the road. And which is right. If you confidence and knowing, well, if you're able to ride the bike, then that's how it should be. If you're not, obviously not confident, you're stabilising and other things. But it just seems to be like a free for all now on the pavement. But yeah, another one thing I will ask you as well, Steve, is there anything that you would like to change locally, whether it's Preston, Berry or whatever, if you were able to do so, that you would like to change in this area?
Not necessarily this area. There's plenty of things. One, again, we go to Sinister. There's a little road there called Croft Avenue. It's unadopted. It's probably the only road I know of that's full of potholes, and the council refusing to do anything about it. That's one to be sorted. We've got Bagley Crescent, which is a complete mess. I saw an email that my colleague Christina got from an officer just saying, "Oh, we can't sustain keep picking up all the rubbish. There's road landlords, there's this, but that, and the other." And each one I went, "Well, you should be sorting it. You should be doing something about it." Yeah. So those are two. One's a semi-small project, one's a big project. But the quality of life for people in Bagley Crescent really has to be improved. Really greatly. Again, we need to sort the speed of traffic through Sinister Village, so maybe some calming measures or some speed survey or something like that needs to be sorted through Sinister Village. That needs to be done, and then we're on to the town centre and the regeneration of the town centre. And again, I'll go to this group of people that is the regeneration forum. They need to be designated. It'd be good for Prestwich. Just talking and when you speak to people and listen to people, the skill sets of all those people collectively probably 10 times better than what they've got at the council, but they're as good as what they've got on news. So it's just another view, another helpful thing. They're not against the regeneration in any way, shape, or form. They're 100% for it, but you just want what's right for people of Preston rather than, like other things that happen, like very new road that, it's not what everybody wants, and there's a lot of money being spent on it.
It was congested earlier when I went over to Tesco. It was one of my gridlocks.
What was this?
I mean, if this goes ahead, what is being planned for the regeneration of Preston, which is obviously like everybody would agree, whichever political persuasion or whatever, people would agree that regeneration of Preston, Whitefield, all across the borough is definitely needed. It has been happening in some parts, obviously more needed as well, and certainly here in Prestwich and also in Whitefield as well, where things are needed. When will it actually?
It's a few years, I think. The project plan, if it gets approval and everything, is 5 or 6 years to do it. It'll be done in stages,
right?
But it's getting very close to, we've had. I think again, talking to various other people, the initial plan or the initial draft plan that was out was a very rushed draft plan, and as a company say they would not do anything like that. So they feel that there's other pressures that we put on them to get that draft plan out, and they say that there's a lot of holes in it, there's a lot of issues with it, but the next plan is the final plan, and we'll go out to consultation, and people will, it will obviously be adapted in some way or whatever.
Right.
But and people on board to talk about it, because that'll be it, and that will be your Prestwich town centre for the next at least 30 or 40 years.
Well, I've got another question on it. It's an on the spot one, but it's not a exact one. It's not exactly Steve Cobb held accountable for this, but I'll say by the time I reached the current state pension age, which at the moment is 67, and there's been all kinds of hoo-ha in regards to that. Not my state pension age, but different questions will be different by then. Another, 19, 20
The
years.
answer is yes, it will be different, but how it will be different is open for debate. It could all still fall through, and it could all just be left with what we've got at the moment anyway, and then there'll have to be some rejuvenation or something like that. Again, like I said, it could all fall through. I hope it won't. I hope everybody gets what they would like in there. And this is only speaking to everybody, and I was going to say engaging with everybody. Again, another lady that's in this group is very, very big into disabilities and various other things, and the consultation did not take into account anybody with disability. You really had to be a person who uses emails and websites and things like that to be able to be involved in the consultation. You have hearing difficulty or sight difficulty, you would struggle to be involved in the consultation, and she's made the council aware of how this latest draft proposal that a lot of people saw, a lot of people got engaged with, but it didn't reach the correct level. Different people, as it should do. People, different abilities, ages, different ages, and things like that.
Right. As like a closing kind of thing, and obviously thank you once again, Steve. Is there anything else you wanted to add before? I've got a couple more things to go over as well before to explain what's happening on Thursday and Friday, and of course next weekend. But anything else you wanted to add?
Well, there's a major prediction that that the Shatliff first could be the second biggest party, and that could be a very bad day for the Conservatives that they come the third party. It is quite possible that I hope it isn't, but the Lib Dems get wiped out in Prestwich and in Bury. There could be no Liberal Democrat voice for the people of Hollingford, Prestwich, Bury in the council chambers. And again, Labour are fighting very, very hard to make that happen. But that is a prediction that could happen quite easily.
If that was to happen, and I'm asking this in a complete objective kind of format here, but just asking that, you would continue to try and get that.
We'll still try our best for everybody in the area as well, and yes, there'll be an election next year, and more than 100% likely, I would go again.
This is in effect, this is like the third year as well for you, isn't it?
The third what?
This is the third consecutive local elections that you've stood, because you were re-elected in 2021, that should have been 2020 due to COVID, and then of course because of your elections last year.
Yeah.
So it's like three years on the trot.
Yeah, I've had like 3 years on the trot. Yeah, because we had 5-year term, didn't we?
Yeah.
And then, so we have an election every single year, and I've been on for election as well.
Well, just looking at the Bury Council website here on the iPad, it's company in yellow. It's been updated. So this a touch of hope for both you and the Conservatives. Looking at the website there.
Just a touch of hope for Ukraine, really.
Yes, exactly. Which of course is always well. I did think Ukraine as well, and I just saw that. But yeah, which is nice the way they've done that. But yeah, the obviously thoughts always with Ukraine, and obviously with Sudan and all these other countries where there's problems which should not be happening in our present day. I'm just going to quote something that the priest said at church as well this morning, and he mentioned about the early stages of lockdown, and this is something I've mentioned to different ones as well recently, and of how just that time, those few weeks where people were appreciating when there was no noise and various different things like that, and as much as nobody liked that specific time, people were appreciating what they had and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, and that's something that some of these people that like to tarnish other countries should be thinking about. Now, next Thursday, I will give a prediction at 10 o'clock as to how I think things will go here in Bury. And then the local election counts is at 10 o'clock on Friday morning when the counting starts.
I think so. It might be later. We haven't been told the time to get there yet. I'm fully focused on getting Thursday to the way first of all.
Yeah, no, that's completely understandable. So I will give an update with some live updates at 10 o'clock up until about midnight on Thursday evening. I'll get a bit of rest and I'll bring updates live as and when things happen from 11 o'clock on Friday morning. So it won't be an all-nighter on this specific occasion. I'll save that for next year when we could have a general election as well as US elections. Let's hope that when they start planning these things, they do not decide to go for the US elections and the general election here in the UK on the same week. Because anything can happen, madness and all that kind of stuff. And of course, next Sunday, of course, it is the coronation of King Charles III on Saturday, and then it's a Friday then there will be a special programme to celebrate the coronation and our new king. And hopefully the weather will be beautiful next Sunday so that people can enjoy street parties and everything as a celebration. As well as putting a new flag which I've got up for King Charles, and we'll also be putting a flag up that I had up last year for our late Queen Elizabeth as well. Steve, as always, thank you for coming on. Pete, I know you're going to come back again and we'll continue doing like we used to do, doing like monthly updates, etc. And I will say, as I will say to Martin and also to you, obviously good luck. Good luck to all candidates who are standing, whether it's here in the Metropolitan Borough of Bury or anywhere in England and Wales. One thing I will say just to end this, being objective but also at the same stage, I bet in Scotland the SNP are glad that there are no elections taking place on Thursday, whether it be council or assembly elections. For myself and Steve, thank you for joining today. I will be back again tomorrow at some stage when I will be doing an interview with Martin West, who is standing for the independents in Essex. That will be quite interesting, and we'll see how these elections will unfold on Thursday. So, whichever way you're going to vote, please make sure you have the right to vote. Make sure that you take your photo ID, which is also required, or vote by post. Get everything in, and that way you've done whatever you are going to do to contribute to the society in that sense. So, thank you, Steve, once again.
Pleasure.
Thank you for watching. Hope I've not been too controversial with what I said regarding Pilgrim's Park. I was just saying about things that have been said. So, take care and enjoy the day. Goodbye for now. Goodbye.